Okay, the time has come to call our meeting for the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Mike's working? Nope. Mike's working? Are you working a little better? Need a little more value? Okay, we'll try. It's time to call our board meeting to order, our Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order for today, August 27th. Welcome all of you here. We're going to make a couple of announcements, and then we'll get into the meeting. We're going to change the agenda up just a little bit to see if we can accommodate the people who need to be in the room when their case is being heard. So the first items that we will get through after we get through with business, the first special use permits and cases we'll take up is item number 4, then item number 7, and then item number 13 is one that we have a bunch of youth that will need to get home. And then we'll go back to the order of the agenda, so everybody can be prepared for that. Now I would like to ask Heidi if she would verify a quorum for us.
Adrian Mosqueda,
Present.
Ron Wright, Jim Allen,
Present.
Tim Bowers,
Present.
Nick Ryan,
Here.
Matthias Rosales, Scott Mulhern,
Here.
Gary Black,
Here.
Bobby McDermott, Ron Van Wyck.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a quorum.
Very good. Before we do the pledge, I'd like to read this little script that we always read. If you have parked in the rear employee gated parking lot, we'll need you to move your car now or it will get locked in. We need you to move it up to the north, your car to the front north parking lot to avoid it being locked in. There's no public egress to the south parking lot, and the only entry to the building is through the north. All access to the DDS building we're in is limited to staff only as a security precaution. If you wish to speak tonight, we ask that you sign in at the sheet at the back door. And if you do speak, you'll come to the podium, state your name and your address clearly for the record. When you speak, address me as the chairman, and I will direct any questions or any comments to staff if need be, but we can't be talking to the audience or talking to other folks. Direct all comments to the acting chairman. If you have handouts, give them to staff and they will distribute them to us. Restrooms are just behind us. Out the doors just behind us. Feel free to use those as needed. And we ask that there's no food or beverage in the room except for water. We also tonight will be using our 3-minute timer. You'll need to help us keep an eye if you're the speaker when your time is about to expire. So as concise as you can be would be appreciated. Now, if everyone would stand, please, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on tonight's agenda is approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission's regular meeting minutes from the July 23rd meeting.
Chairman,
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second that.
There's a motion by Commissioner Van Wy with a second from Commissioner Black to approve the minutes as published. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed, minutes are approved. Item number 4 on the agenda is the applicant for that item here. He is here, so we will take item number 4, special use case number 24-08. Ryan Weed of CVL Consultants, agent for Arizona Public Service, requests a special use permit per section 601.03I. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Richard Munguia, Senior Planner. This request is for to allow an electrical substation on a 5.3 acre portion of a parcel and that parcel is 586.58 gross acres in size.
Go ahead.
Just a moment, we have a technical issue. Our TV's not working. It's amazing what those own buttons do.
Thank you.
You might have to get one of them kids up here.
Good now?
All right, we're now up to speed, sir.
All righty. So the subject property is zoned RA40. It's surrounded by the same zoning on all sides. The property is bisected by Palomas Road. To the northeast of the property is the Agua Caliente Solar Project. South of the Palomas Road, on the eastern portion of the property, there's another energy generation facility, and that's McFarland Solar. On this slide, the washes are identified by the light blue color, and the blue square within the red square is a rough approximation of where the proposed facility will be located. The applicant is proposing to develop an electrical substation. This image here is from Google Maps. The highlighted area shows the approximate location of the project, and it's relatively close to the Agua Caliente Solar Project. The surrounding area is mostly undeveloped with solar farms in the vicinity. Access would be along train tracks that are no longer in use. The site plan submitted shows the layout of the proposed facility. The applicant intends to provide access to the substation by way of a private road, and that road would be improved by APS. Portions of the site fall under the floodplain boundary, and the applicant also states that the site will be elevated above the flood zone and fenced off. The applicant is expecting approximately 2 trips per week after construction of the facility, since it's monitored and operated remotely. No water or sewer would be required for this facility. This is the view just off Palomas Road, looking roughly northeast towards the location of where the proposed facility will be located. The parcel itself is undeveloped, and only a small portion will be improved. Luke Air Force Base sent in a comment stating that the property was inside the territory in the vicinity of a military airport and would be subjected to approximately 165 overflights per day. There were no other comments submitted. This proposal would not affect or endanger the public health, safety, or welfare, would not substantially change or materially affect the adjoining property or surrounding area, and would be in harmony with the area. Staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report and shown here. The applicant did agree with the conditions on August 12, 2024 via email. And that concludes my staff report, and I'm available for questions.
Very good, thank you. Does any commissioner have questions of staff? If not, is the applicant here? Does the applicant wish to speak?
I'm here available for questions, Chairman.
Okay, if we'll open the public hearing and get that if there's anything that you need to respond to. We'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting now and ask if there's anyone in the audience wanting to speak concerning this special use case number 24-06, either for or against. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and come back to the commissioners for discussion and action. Commissioner Van Wy.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve special use permit case number 24-06 as presented by staff.
I'll second that.
There is a motion by Commissioner Van Wy with a second by Commissioner Black to recommend approval of special use case number 24-06 as presented. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Recommendation to approve passes. We'll now move to item number 7 on tonight's agenda. Item number 7 on tonight's agenda is rezoning case number 24-11. Adrian Vega of Dahl Robbins and Associates, agent for TDI Holdings, requests the rezoning of a parcel 9.8772 gross acres from RA10 to suburban site built 2-acre minimum.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I need to recuse myself from rezoning case number 24-11. I'm currently employed by the agent for the owner.
Let the record show that Commissioner Mulhern has declared a conflict and will not participate in discussion or action on item number 7. Staff report, sir.
Richard Munguia, Senior Planner. This property is located in the Yuma Mesa planning area near Avenue 4E and County 16th Street in Yuma. The intent of this rezone is to develop 5 residential lots. This slide here outlines the location of the property. Subject property is surrounded by RA10 on all sides. The adjacent western parcel contains a residence along Avenue 4E. The purple-colored properties are zoned planned development for Tuscan Ranch Phase 2. The green properties are zoned SSB 2, and the brown property is zoned RA5. This image shows the approximate location of the subject property, outlined in red, and the proximity to Avenue 4E, along with the surrounding areas. The area in blue is the existing unpaved utilities and access easement. It's roughly 646.96 feet in length. And the area in yellow is the proposed private access and utility easement, and that's roughly 800 linear feet. Both the existing easement and proposed easement would be required to be improved, and staff is asking for standard B due to being located within the PM10 non-attainment area. This slide shows a layout of the residential development that the applicant is proposing to develop if the rezoning is approved. There would be 5 parcels that would have access off of Avenue 4E from an existing access and utilities easement onto the private access easement meant for the future residents of the proposed development. The development would not be served with potable water or sewage disposal, and each property would require its own individual sewage disposal and water well systems. This view is looking south at the property, and Avenue 4E is located approximately 1/8 of a mile to the west. MCAS stated that the property was located just a little more than a quarter mile away from the northern boundary of the Goldwater Range and would be subject to the requirements of the BMGR buffer zone. This entails a maximum density of 1 home per 2 acres and an avigation easement and range disclosure statement to be recorded. These items recognize the noise, interference, or vibrations due to the MCAS/BMGR operations and their flight paths. Luke Air Force Base stated that the property was inside the territory in the vicinity of a military airport and would be subjected to approximately 165 overflights per day. The request to rezone this property to SSB2 is similar to other properties in the area. It maintains the rural character of the area and fits the densities and intensities of the comprehensive plan. Staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report and shown here. And that concludes my staff report, and I'm available for questions.
Very good, thank you. Do any commissioners have questions of staff?
Chairman?
Yes.
It was obviously an irrigated parcel at the time the photo was taken. Is it within the Yuma Mesa Irrigation District?
Let me check.
I didn't find it in the staff report. And if it has water by, then it needs to have irrigation, an irrigation system to provide each lot before it's approved.
Okay. We're going to find that information.
Okay, thank you.
While we're looking for that answer, is there any other commissioner with questions of staff?
Does this
Commissioner Black?
require a subdivision application?
It does
doesn't?
not.
5 lots? 6?
Correct.
Any other questions of staff by commissioners? If not, is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to speak at this time? Pass in until we open the public hearing portion. Let's open the public hearing portion of the meeting and ask if there's anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak concerning this rezoning case number 24-11, either for or against. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and come back to the commissioners for further discussion and action. Commissioner McDermott. She's going to answer your question, I think.
Okay.
Answer it.
Mr. Chairman, we may have to add an additional item to the schedule for development that requires that access to irrigation be provided to the lots during the land division permit process.
So what does that look like from us? Do we continue this to the next meeting, or do we do that tonight?
Mr. Chairman, we can do that tonight. I just need to provide you with a wording.
Okay,
Then I move to approve that with her wording.
I guess we'll ask the applicant, do you have any heartburn with that in that condition? Do you trust Maggie's wording? It's a standard wording that we do for those. You're okay with that? So Maggie, are you okay? You want to read it to us or just add it?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Javier is going to provide that in a few minutes. He's looking for the wording.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one other question. So all 5 lots will have legal access once, so the first part of the road is already legal access to the property, and then the yellow portion will be constructed, or is there no legal access from the main road on the west?
Legal access is the blue shown on the slide here.
So
It's
that's
already
dedicated
existing.
already?
Yeah, and then the yellow is going to be what the applicant creates for a private access for the 5 lots.
Okay, with that configuration, for emergency vehicles and things like that, is that going to be part of the road requirements?
I believe the emergency vehicles will have sufficient space. The roadways are shown here to be a minimum of 40 feet
Okay,
wide.
because it's quite a distance, for the back parcels, and if that were required, and I just want to make sure that they would have access.
Correct. They will have access.
Right, Mr. Chairman, the proposed easement and suggest the recommended improvements by staff would provide access for emergency vehicles.
So how long before you anticipate the wording?
As soon as Javier walks through that door.
Okay. I gotcha.
Any minute now.
You know that's why I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
I understand.
Does the amended?
Ah,
See, I thought that was there, okay. All right then, Mr. Chairman.
all right, the words have been added. We don't need to read them into the record, right? They're going to be a part of the permanent record.
Mr. Chairman, you could read them into the record since it's not part of the presentation today.
I figured you would say that. Within 5 years of approval by the Board of Supervisors and prior to approval of the land division permit, all lots shall be provided with the means of irrigation and access to irrigation water prior to development of any of the existing parcels. The owner applicant will submit a letter from the irrigation district to the Department of Development Services confirming that a satisfactory irrigation system is installed and the individual lots will have access to irrigation water. Prior to approval of the land division permit, that will have to be accomplished. So, did I pass?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All right, now we're ready for a motion, sir.
Go
I
ahead.
so move.
We have a motion by
Second.
Commissioner McDermott with a second by Commissioner Van Wy to recommend approval of rezoning case number 24-11 as presented by staff and read into the record by the acting chairman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The recommendation will go for approval unanimously. Next item on tonight's agenda that we're going to deal with is the discussion concerning the text amendment of the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 1107-03, to adopt performance standards for the raising of animals for 4-H and/or FFA projects. So, is there anyone in the overflow room that needs to come over here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we'll check.
Yes, so we're going to see if there's any FFA folks over there that need to come over to get this out of the way, and then hopefully we can fit everyone in the same room for the rest of the For the rest of the cases.
Yeah. It asks for public continuance, but we're still looking into possible amendment in the zoning ordinance.
They're still finding it. It takes a while. That's it. Only one person.
Yeah, dentro.
He's working.
There's more people here for Mesa, so.
We're ready.
Everybody's here now? All right, we're ready for the staff report for item number 13.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesus Carrillo, Senior Planner. The intent for this text amendment is to amend the UMass County zoning ordinance, section 1107.03 M. The purpose of the amendment is to amend the UMass County zoning ordinance, section 1107.03. The reason is stakeholders are concerned that there are currently no restrictions in place regarding the location and specific dates for housing 4-H and FFA animals. Staff receives several complaints each year concerning farm animals on properties zoned for residential development, R1 and RVS districts. Staff met with representatives from the 4-H and FFA, the Yuma County Junior Livestock Committee, and the Yuma County Fairgrounds on August 8, 2024. During the meeting, it was brought out to our attention that there's a year-round breeding program involving lambs, goats, and cattle. Staff recommends excluding the breeding program as an option under this section for a temporary use permit, and instead suggests handling it through a special use permit process. The proposed changes are shown below. Text that is proposed to be deleted is in a strike-through font, and text that is proposed to be added is in bold font. The proposed portion that is being deleted is subject to not more than continuous 8 months within 1 year period. Staff is recommended to change it with between August 1st and April 15 of each year. And we're also adding the 4-H and FFA animal projects are subject to the following performance standards, 1 through 10. Does the chairman want me to read the standards?
I don't think we need to read those into the record. We have them and they're published with their packet. So,
We also received comments from Amy M. Perrott, and she recommends the portion that is highlighted in yellow. And she's present.
now that changed, just so that everybody sees, that changes, changing from 1 animal to 2.
She's recommending to remove the 1 animal to no 4-H member at the specific address can have more than 2 animals.
So from 1 to 2, and then changing the date from January to November.
Changing the date from, yes, and changing the wording from instead of field calves to production of feeder calves. That's the new description on it.
All right,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
keep in mind that that proposed change to item number 1 could result in an address where there are multiple members, multiple students that are part of the FFA program or 4-H program. They could have more than,
they could have sisters that are both doing animals, and they could both have 2.
yes, they can each have 2 animals.
Yeah.
It would result in
So we could
several.
have a whole herd.
I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Understand. It's always the problem, right? When we try to fix one problem, it creates several more, so.
Correct.
Is staff finished with your report, sir?
Not yet.
No, go ahead.
We also received comments from a resident, Peggy George comments. You want me to read it?
Was it in our packet?
No, it was not included in the
Oh,
packet.
yes, please read it.
So she stated, Jesus, with the changes to the temporary use permit being proposed later this month, I would like to offer the following suggestions. Permits issued for 6 months. The fair is held the first week of April. The time frame of October 10 to April 10 will be sufficient for raising and working with the animal for showing. Permits for goats/sheep are for animals that are sold at the fair. Permits should not be issued for animals that are going to be retained for breeding purposes. Goats, sheep, 1 per 10,000 square foot lot or less. Mandatory, the cages are cleaned daily with ground sanitized with urine, odor remover, and waste hauled from property on a weekly basis. Fly bags are changed on a regular basis. Input obtained from the 4-H and FFA on the construction of enclosure and the size of the area for raising the animal. I was a 4-H sheep leader, and both of my children participated in sheep 2 years and swine 2 years. I believe these suggestions are reasonable and will not hinder the child participation in the program. Thanks for your consideration, Peggy George. The address is 13228 East 41st Street, Yuma. Moving forward, this is the zoning district where the temporary use permit is required for properties zoned less than 20,000 square feet a minimum, including recreational vehicle park. Those zoning district requires a temporary use permit. And if the commission and the board of supervisors adopt this text amendment, we'll have to follow those standards, performance standards. This is the zoning districts that are temporary use permit are not required, and they're not subject to follow the performance standards. Farm animals are allowed, and most of the properties are zoned 40,000 square foot and greater. Staff recommends providing staff with input on moving forward with an amendment to the zoning ordinance. And that concludes staff presentation.
I'm pretty sure we're going to get quite a bit of input here shortly. Commissioner McDermott.
Yes. What will the cost of the permits be for the families? And is it by the animal or is it by the site? How will that be? Because of course, any added cost is difficult for some of the younger folks with project animals.
The cost for the application is $20. That was adopted by the board of supervisors.
Is that for all of the animals?
That's for the parcel.
For the parcel, okay, $20 for the parcel. So if I've got 6 kids and I have 12 animals, it's still $20.
Oh, heard.
For the parcel.
Per parcel, yeah.
Not for hindquarters.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question.
Commissioner Black.
Who is going to issue these special use permits, and how are they going to go about doing this?
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, it's a temporary use permit. And the application has to be filed here in Development Services.
Okay, so it's filed within Development Services and approved by Development Services.
That's correct.
Not zoning, yeah.
And it's been implemented since 1999.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Any other questions of staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in
Mr.
reference
Van
to the suggested changes by Amy, having grown up 4-H and FFA, I had 2 animals for each. So I feel that we are going to challenge some of our children, and FFA and 4-H is amazing of what they do in Yuma County. So we need to definitely think about this as we go forward, because it's very important that we maintain these children in these groups.
And yes, Maggie.
Mr. Chairman, keep in mind that this requirement for a temporary use permit is already in place.
Already been
It
in
is
place,
not
right.
a new requirement. Properties that are zoned RA, SR, SSB, R140, suburban homestead are not required to obtain a temporary use permit because farm animals are allowed by right,
That's basically 1 acre or larger, is that correct?
pretty much.
Yes.
Yes. So a temporary use permit will be required if they intend on having a 4-H project or FFA project in the RVS, MHS, RVP, R1, R2, and R3 zoning districts.
And you're telling us that that's already in place?
It is already in place.
And what we're doing is perhaps making it a little more restrictive by trying to go to 1 animal or 2 animals. It didn't have an animal limit before.
Correct. The current zoning ordinance does not have a limit as to the number of farm animals, and also it does not have any requirements for the keeping
Right.
of the animal, where the animal could be kept. So the intent is to add some restrictions on where and how many animals could be on a given piece of property. Staff is recommending 1 project or 1 animal per parcel.
But I mean, you understand that no one agrees with that, right? I mean, outside of staff. I mean, no one says 1 animal don't work.
Mr. Chairman, we have comments where some stakeholders don't want any farm animals in
Understand.
the RVS zoning district, for example. So we have comments on both sides.
I understand you guys have to try to balance the thing, but if you restrict a privilege to the point it's not usable, you're really taking it away. You're not just making it tougher.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one other follow-up on that. I was a 4-H leader for years, and I've been in 4-H for a number of years. But to me, it makes more sense to give that responsibility to the leader or the 4-H group in its own. Maybe a special use permit, that's involving a different
Temporary use.
temporary use permit. That's involving people, the neighbors and stuff. But the responsibility and the number of animals should be, the 4-H or the FFA. They've got advisors. They've got people that understand the cleanliness and and the care of the animals. That's just my opinion, but that's where I'm coming from.
If we're through with staff, maybe we can hear from the folks who are going to give us some comments. So how many people are here tonight that want to speak on this issue?
A bunch of us, but
There's
not
a
everyone
bu-
wants to talk.
Not everybody wants to talk?
Who wants to talk?
Well, we are going to try to use the clock. We're going to try to do 3 minutes, and if you just agree with the other person, you can tell us you agree, and we'd like to let everybody speak that can. And we will go ahead and open up the public hearing portion of the meeting and ask those who do want to speak just to come forward and name and address for the record and tell us what you think we should be doing with this project. And if there's another speaker, you can come right on up behind her and be ready to go when she's ready to speak. But name and address,
Good
please.
evening. My name is Amy Parrott. I am the 4-H Youth Development Agent in Yuma County, and my work address is 2200 West 28th Street, Yuma, Arizona, Suite number 102. Initially, I did send back some comments to Mr. Jesus Carrillo. However, is there a way that, I know that in the lead-in, it said that several complaints have come in. The first complaint I've ever received from the county was this year, last Wednesday. So, and I understand that there have been comments and concerns that have come from people. I just generally, we are a family organization. So to say that one person per house is able to do a livestock. And I think livestock and small animals need to be separated. There's a very big difference between a goat and a guinea pig. And so to have everything lumped in together. I also think the lot size is a little bit arbitrary. So to say that if you live where there's 20,000 square foot lot, that you can have 1 goat, but if you live on an acre, you can have 12. It just feels like the lot size is a little bit arbitrary. So if I got to write the rule, which I know that I don't, could we just start with number 8? If there's an issue from now on, can we be contacted? Can the FFA advisor and can the 4-H office be contacted? Let us handle this. I didn't realize, I had received a couple of emails saying that there were some concerns, but the first time that I've been contacted from the county about a complaint was last Wednesday, August 21st. So by this time, I didn't have any recourse to, I didn't know that there's complaints. I don't know who specifically is complaining about what areas. And a lot of times I think people just assume if there's a sheep or something living in somebody's backyard, I think it's assumed that it's a 4-H or FFA member, and that's not always the case. And so I just think there's a lot of ways that we can work together before saying one child at a lot is allowed to do an animal. As Mr. Van Wy said, according to the fair rules, an exhibitor can bring one 4-H and one FFA animal to fair. So to limit it to say one per lot, we really are eliminating a lot of kids. I believe wholeheartedly in the 4-H and FFA program, and I think this is absolutely detrimental that we at least look at number one. I think number one is the one that we have the biggest problem with, is the limit. And I also think that we really do need to separate small animal from livestock. There's a big difference between rabbits, poultry, KV, and then goats and sheep.
So the complaint that you were made aware of last week, what happened with that?
I received a phone call and an address was given. I verified that, yes, it was in fact a 4-H member. And if that happened in the future, I would contact the 4-H member, say, hey, we got to figure out a way to, whether I need to go, whether I needed to contact their 4-H leader. But by then, we're already into a meeting like this. And so in the past, what's happened is a neighbor would call, I would call the young person, or if they are in 4-H, I would contact them and say, hey, we got to do better at like keeping flies away, sorry.
Well, but I asked you a question, so
Okay.
but basically, if I sum up, you don't think we're ready to pass this thing tonight. There's some more massaging that needs to be done.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of things that we could do to prevent, to go from 0 to 10 rules. I think there's a lot of things we could do.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
your
your time.
comments. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Tanya Wright, 5842 East 39th Lane. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I do have to say some things that are very upsetting. My children have been doing 4-H. I have two for 6 or 7 years. We do poultry, so I will focus on that. You do understand that we're dealing with live animals. That means that all kinds of things happen. They get sick. Things happen. My son particularly lost a chicken. She literally died 2 hours before taking it to fair. Thank God we had a backup. If they are only allowed to raise one, then what are they going to do if they lose their chicken? They've been training it. They've been practicing all the showmanship and everything for months. We need backups for our animals. And then also the last few years, ever since COVID or maybe before COVID, we've been having issues getting chickens that are auction quality. So a lot of us have to get them from chicks. We don't know if they're going to be good quality chickens until they are old enough. And it might be too late to get new ones. And then what do we do if they're not auction quality? Do we get rid of them? There's a lot of different things that you have to deal with. It's not just getting an animal and assuming it's going to stay alive and it's going to be auction worthy, or that it's going to be trainable. So I suggest that we take a look at this and really consider if all of these points are actually making any sense. I understand that they have talked to 4-H leaders and FFA and others, but I think that the public needs to give more input on all the little intricacies, all the little variants that can happen. I'm just talking in terms of poultry, but I'm sure there are other things that are going on with the other animals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Next speaker, please.
Hello. I'm actually not here for this purpose, but when I heard you guys discussing it, it matters to me. And I don't do 4-H with my kids. I never have. We're fairly new to Yuma. We've been out here for a few years. And I have a lot of friends that do it. And just hearing this, I want to stand up for them and say that, there's not a lot of things for children to do out here. And a lot of them fall into bad directions. And this is something that I see kids looking forward to. It teaches them responsibility. And to make it more complicated, difficult, challenging for them, or to limit it to one in the household, how is a parent supposed to make that decision? So I don't participate in it, but I think it's a really beautiful thing that I love about Yuma, and it would be a shame to see this taken away from our children.
Your
That's all.
name and
Thank you.
address, ma'am?
Name and
Oh,
address.
I'm so sorry. Tina Sibley, 10517 South Del Vista.
Name?
Tina Sibley.
Thank you,
you.
Tina. Next speaker, please.
My name is Bruce Luna. My address is 16590 South Avenue, 2.5E. Our 4-H program is one of the biggest in the state. I live in Yuma County. I don't live in Yupai, Mohaven, Maricopa, Pima, and Cochise. And I don't give a damn what they say what we should do. I give a damn what Yuma County says we need to do. I've been here before, and I brought it to your attention because they try to sneak it out the time we were all at fair, all of us. They tried to sneak it through. Luckily, y'all did something about it. I had asked through public records. You can ask for my public records request. It doesn't tell me who the stakeholder who filed a complaint. I don't even have a complaint, even though it says there's a stakeholder that filed a complaint. So that's really fishy. But then, at the last board that they had, somebody read a complaint. Well, I should have had it. We should all had it to figure out, hey, what's going on? That way we didn't come to this point. Okay, I think you just need to start over. And I think along with the 4-H lady, that we need to give it back to them. Because I'm going to tell you, those people, when I first started 4-H with my kid, they're mean. Okay, they don't take no huss on you. And I'm new. Okay, they make parents be responsible, and that makes us to be responsible for our kids. Okay, I have one kid. She has a steer and she has like 8 guinea pigs. So you just don't know how it's going to be. And sometimes people who have property have other kids having their animals at their house because they can't do it, because we want them to show animals. So the one animal, sometimes it's not going to work. I really appreciated your time, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Anyone else who wants to speak? But there were several people stood up, so all of the people that had stood up interested in this project are in agreement with what's been said. We got one more last speaker here.
Good old Randy, gotta say something, man.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Randy Bailey. I live at 14689 South Avenue C in Somerton. I sit on many boards with 4-H and FFA. And I think when we start restricting kids from allowing them to do anything, we ask them to go do something else. And that something else could be getting in trouble. So when we start restricting, I feel that you also could say that they're going to go down a path later on that we don't want them to go down. And so I agree sometimes with some things, but this one I have to disagree with. I've talked to Jesus, and him and I had a wonderful conversation. But I think if you're going to restrict them from something they love, some kids are not sports. They don't do sports. They don't do BMX. All they do is raise animals. And those kids raise animals better than some kids raise their own dogs. And so when we ask them to say, hey, we want you to pick and choose, what are they picking and choosing from, right? And when we ask a parent, hey, we're restricting you to one person, how are you as parents going to say, sorry, kid, I have to pick your brother, or I have to pick your sister? And I agree with Amy. When we talk about large animals and small animals, we're talking about two different things. You know, a small animal, you know, they restrict into a cage or to a bigger cage where, yes, a lamb and goat goes into a bigger cage, but the responsibility is the same. And so as a parent, as a leader, I can honestly say, even as a leader, if they came to me as board members, you guys came to me and said, hey, we got a complaint with a kid that may not be taking care of their animal, I'll be the first one to jump up and go out there. But without knowing these complaints and without knowing their pens are dirty or not dirty, we don't know. We can't tell you. And so I honestly think that we really need to relook at this and maybe meet as a general public or bring in more leaders together and look at this and see what we can come with to collaborate, to work together as the county and work together as us and see where we can go with this that works for everyone. And so that's just kind of where I'm at with it. And like I said, I don't really like the ideal, but if we're going to work together, let's work together as a team. Let's work together as the county with the 4-H, with the FFA, and parents together.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the comments. And do we have one more speaker?
I'm Jim Morse, address 2747 Cindy Lou Lane. I run the small animal barn for fair. Okay, some of the stuff that I've seen here, I'm kind of okay with. Large animal side, small animal, not so much. Okay, small animals, 99% of the kids keep them in the house. They don't live outside down here, not in this weather. They stay outside, or they stay inside, or they're there. Some of the references in here to breeding. Some of our kids do rabbit and cavy, doe and litter, and sow and pup projects. Those projects are kept in the house, okay? But some of the breeding references in here makes it seem like, it's gonna be a little tough for them to do that. I also feel that some of this special use permits is handicapping 4-H and FFA kids. You've got one of the residential areas you talk about out there. 2 houses right next to each other, 2 kids. One's gonna do 4-H. He's gonna do a cavy or a rabbit. You gotta come down and get a special use permit, temporary use permit. Kid next door, I want a cavy as a pet. He goes to PetSmart, gets a pet. He's home free, he doesn't do anything. Doesn't have to get a permit. Parents don't know, or neighbors don't know. He's got a pet. His cavies qualify as that. I think the small animal part of this needs to be rethought. Small animals shouldn't be included in this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the discussion. All right. There's no more speakers. Well, there is one more speaker.
I'm Robert Raleigh. I live in an RV park that I own in a county island, 2900 West 5th Street. And I have no involvement in FFA. I have no involvement in 4-H. But I will tell you, after 48 and a half years of teaching, 12 and a half of those in Arizona, 6 and a half in Yuma, that there are various activities related to school that keep kids in school. And what I'm hearing tonight is government trying to create a new set of problems as they're trying to solve a problem. And government seems to do that very well. My feeling is there ought not to be any cost involved to the kids. And permits, if they need a permit, sign their name and say what they're doing and leave it at that. Generally, the issue that might be a cause of complaint is going to be sanitation and noise. You already have ordinances for that. That's no problem. When I was a kid in high school, at Yuma High School, when the days when there was only one high school in Yuma, is that telling me my time's up?
No, that was somebody's cell phone.
We had an FFA program. I was part of that program for a couple of years. In the city of Yuma, in a residential lot, I raised chickens, fattened them up, slaughtered them, and sold them. I went a little later with a friend of mine who lives very close to where my RV park is, and we independently raised some chickens and tried to make a little money. I'm not going to tell you we've succeeded, but we had a good experience. And I will tell you, there is nothing better for kids than to raise animals. I am a very strong proponent of FFA and 4-H. What this is leaving out is the youngster who is not a part of FFA and 4-H. And I think that needs to be worked in somehow. But likewise, I'd like to say, if it's possible, avoid any fees and any additional requirements. Kids have enough trouble just surviving. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right. All speakers have spoken? Oh, we got one more. Is there anyone else after this lady? If they are, come on forward so we can get, we don't have to have the walk of fame there, yeah.
Right. Hello, my name is Jamie Lockridge Caraballo. My address is 10518 East Shale Drive. I am a 4-H leader, 4-H parent, and a 4-H alumni. I have been involved with 4-H for over 30 years between myself, my kids, and now my grandchildren will be a part of it. And we have been in the same spot for many, many years since we came here in 1987. Now, granted, our lot is not exactly an acre. However, it is very close. If we limit our kids to what they can raise, you're stopping them from the other projects that aren't mentioned, like our exhibition projects, like the breeding heifers or the dairy goats, things like that, the carcass display. When you limit what they are allowed to do with this, you're limiting them from exploring all avenues of agriculture, leadership, and basic, caretaking of anything that they can do. When we walk our animals around the neighborhood, we have several children that aren't involved in 4-H stopping us, talking to us. They're talking about the animals. We are able to teach them. We get them to come. We're able to encourage them to do something more than just walk around the neighborhood twiddling their thumbs. They may not come with our club, and that's perfectly okay, but it broadens their horizons and it opens their eyes to a place that they may never have had the opportunity to be at. One thing that all of the other counties and U of A, and Amy has mentioned this, Yuma is a gold standard for 4-H in our state. We have the biggest program. We have the most kids. We bring in the most volunteer hours, and our community is the biggest in the state. If we limit these kids on what they can do and what they can learn and what they can teach, you're taking that gold standard away from the rest of the state. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have heard from all of the speakers. I will close the public hearing portion of this meeting now, and we'll come back to the, yes, Mr. Van Ryn.
Back to us?
Yeah.
What does the current regulation say?
The current regulation says the raising of poultry, rabbits, goats, veal, KV, guinea pigs, lambs, and other small companion animals in residential zoning district where not specified as permitted use by persons enrolled in organizations such as 4-H and FFA sanctioned projects, subject to not more than continuous 8 months within a 1-year period. There must be a minimum period of 4 months between any 8-month period. The keeping of horses, market steers, and swine is excluded and not permitted. Any temporary use permit for this type of sanctioned projects must specifically state that the number and the type of animals to be raised and must meet all applicable county health and Department of Development Services requirements.
Chairman, in reference to that, my opinion is that I believe that staff should work a little bit more time with FFA leaders and 4-H leaders to come to a consensus, because I believe it's very restrictive. I'm not for it, and I personally think there needs to be some changes to it, and my recommendation is that. Obviously everybody else needs to speak, but I think it needs to be revamped and needs to be relooked at, and the 4-H and FFA leaders need to meet with staff to try to come to a general consensus.
I agree,
And there needs to be distinction between the small animals and the large animals.
By all means.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Blag.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I've got some mixed feelings about this, but, you know, I was unaware totally of any temporary special use permit. Of course, I don't live in the city or in the town, but to me, we are Yuma County 4-H FFA. We are Yuma County. So to me, your authority should be your 4-H leaders, your 4-H administration. Those are the people that should be watching out after this. Now, you're going to get some complaints. Okay, so I understand where the county's coming from. So you may have to get a special use, temporary special use, but I don't think it should be sold. I think it should be given out just for notification. So if you get a complaint, you can say, go back to your 4-H leaders or whatever and take care of it. But I'm kind of, I think if you pull up that list one more time, I think we started at 8. No.
Mandates, requirement.
There you go. You start at 8 and go down, and I don't have a problem with that. But this needs to be taken back to the 4-H board, and for them to put in their wording, their thought on this. It's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Commissioner McDermott.
Yuma youth are amazing when it comes to 4-H and FFA. It's, the parents and leaders, it's the crown jewel. And where else can kids learn parliamentary procedure, run meetings, budgeting, raising animals, learning how to win, learning how to lose, learning how to behave, to talk to adults, to deal with judges. There are just so many lessons learned. In the barns, everybody has a responsibility. Every club has to keep areas clean. All of those sorts of things that keep our youth occupied and happy. They make wonderful friends, and that go lifetime through these organizations. They have chances for scholarships. They travel to meetings all over the country. They learn how to be leaders, to train young people, to be kind. So anything we can do to facilitate the lack of regulation. I meant to ask whether or not whether the county up until this came up in 2024 has been issuing any kind of permits to 4-H and FFA people.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, the requirement has been in place since 1999 in Yuma County.
Right.
It is, again, like I said, it's not a new requirement. I'm not sure whether other counties require temporary use permit. I know there are counties that don't allow farm animals, whether it's an 4-H or FFA project, on parcels that are zoned for residential development, which are the low-density residential zoning districts. They're allowed in the agricultural zoning districts or for example, the equivalent of SR or SSB zoning districts, but not in the higher density districts.
Has anybody ever applied for one?
For a temporary use permit?
Yeah.
Yes, we issue several permits per year for these types
Some
of projects.
people know about it, and the ones that know about it comply.
Well, Mr. Chairman, like I said, not every parcel in the county is required to obtain a temporary use permit.
Yeah, then that's part of the patchwork of zoning. And I pulled up the little brochure that's out there concerning animals in 4-H and FFA. And it says, call planning and zoning to find out whether you can have this or that on your lot. You're going to need a staff of 1,000 to, be able to handle if indeed we go down this road. If everybody has to find out whether or not they have to have a permit and what it takes and all the rest, And the brochure now says, well, just call P and Z and they'll tell you.
Well, that goes back, I think, Bobby,
Well,
back to
I
the-
realize that, but that's not
to the-
practical.
Well, it goes back to the 4-H leaders and the administration. It shouldn't be a county thing.
All right.
Yuma County.
Commissioner
PC.
Mosqueda.
I'm sorry.
I agree with everything everybody said. The only other additional thing, Mr. Luna, one of the citizens, made a comment about being just Yuma County, which I agree with. However, also, it might behoove staff to research other counties that have a high ag life like we do, and see what they're doing. And I know they're different, but it might be a great reference to see what we absolutely want to rule out that's not going to work for our varying zoning issues, but that would also meet the needs of our 4-H FFA life here. There might be something already in existence that we tweak a little bit that's going to meet both needs. Just my 2 cents.
Very good. If I could just say a couple of words, it seemed like we had a lot of expertise in our audience tonight. And I think given the expertise we have here in Yuma County, being that we are the shining star for the 4-H and FFA projects, we have plenty of talent that can write something. You understand staff's position right there. They get complaints. They feel like they need to help, so they're doing what they can. But as was stated, sometimes when we try to fix small problems, we create bigger ones, and we want to make sure that don't happen. So it sounds like, from
Mr.
what I
Chairman?
hear, we're going to ask staff to take this back and get more input from 4-H leaders, from Amy, and from others, and see if we can find something that's more acceptable to the community. Is that where we're headed?
Yes,
I would say.
so moved. So moved.
Yes.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman?
Let Maggie, yeah.
Okay, let Maggie make her statement, yes.
To address Commissioner Mosqueda's comment, there are some, in the packet,
I saw.
there are comments from other counties that were received. The commission does have the option to leave the zoning ordinance as is. You don't have to initiate an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Understand, I think given the choice of those two, that's what we would do. But if there's something that can improve it, for instance, to distinguish the small animals from the large animals, if we've got this discussion going, we have the interest of the community. If we can improve and make something happen, I think we should pursue that. But I don't think we should go more restrictive.
Mr. Chairman, I think you're just building more regulation on regulation. I think you're best, if you have it already, to leave it as is. I would make a motion to that effect.
Okay.
I have a hold, I have, Maggie, how many on average complaints do you get a year?
There is a motion. Was there a second?
Okay, I'm not done.
Okay, well.
I move that we hold on to this motion.
He'll have to hold on to that motion. Hold it tight.
If you don't mind, Gary.
Go ahead, Ron.
Mr. Chairman, I would have to do a search in our permitting system to see how many complaints we get, and then also how many temporary use permits we issue each year. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, and I'll go ahead and make my motion, and I would entertain also, leave it to Yuma County 4-H FFA. They know what they're doing. I mean, yes, we're gonna get some complaints maybe, but
So
they will deal with it.
State
I know
your
that.
motions clearly so I
Okay.
can restate it.
All right, I'll just state that I recommend that we leave the ordinance as is for the time being.
Okay, is there a second? We have a motion by Commissioner Black with a second by Commissioner Van Wy to take no action and leave the ordinance stand as is. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion stays as is. So thank you all for coming.
And keep talking to each other.
Is there still people in the overflow?
Es mejor que se quede.
Now we've got to go to
Mejor que se
work.
quede así. Lo que puedo hacer es ponerlo, si quieres hacerlo mejor, que lo haga.
Are there still
Pues, iba a
people?
hacer un
I
friend.
know.
Like the teacher didn't smack me on the head.
It's your right to the
What the hell?
We take time out?
Let's keep going.
All right. All right, if we could get the commission back in order.
All right.
We need to
Chairman?
continue to move forward. Yes.
There's people coming from the overflow room.
You want to wait for them?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, counselor. Maggie rules. Counselor said keep going. Just so everyone knows, we're waiting for the people from the overflow that wants to hear to get
Yes,
over,
okay,
then we'll
yes,
start the rezoning cases.
Well, you need to tell me which ones.
Item. Sí, todo va a apuntar. Va a ser number 5.
Bad news. Sounds like a camel.
Number 5 to 10.
There's a big difference between
Number
a guinea
5 to
pig and
10.
a steer.
5 through 10, except 7. Because he already did
Oh, yeah, except for 7. ¿Quiere que le diga los números?
We'll be going back to number 5.
Que va a ser number 5,
Number
6, 8, 9, and 10.
5, 6, 8, 9, and 10.
Mr. Chairman, the items number 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 will be open concurrently.
Good. Is that all that's left?
Okay, it looks like that our overflow has arrived.
11. 11 also, right?
They're considering it different. So we're going to deal with the next items on our agenda. Item number 5, item number 6, item number 8, item number 9, and item number 10. Rezoning cases and minor amendment case are all related. So we're going to call all of those cases and open them up at the same time. So minor amendment case number 24-03, rezoning case number -24-10, rezoning case number 24 or 24-12, rezoning case 24-13, and rezoning case 24-14. No, that's another one. Those are the ones we'd like to open up at this time. And we will ask our staff to give us a report, and then we will start the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesus Carrillo, Senior Planner, presenting minor amendment case number 2403. The request is to change the land use designation of the east 458 feet of a parcel approximately 15.8 acres in size from regional commercial to low-density residential. The property is located in the Foothills planning area, southwest corner of Foothills Boulevard in County 10 and a half Street. And the intent is to accommodate the rezoning of the subject property from rural area 10 acres minimum, low density residential 6,000 square foot minimum, medium density residential, and local commercial to low density residential 8,000 square foot minimum. This is the land use map. The portion that is being requested to be amended is with the crosshatch markings, which is, and the parcel it's highlighted in yellow with the outline in red. The property has 2 land uses. One is urban density and regional commercial. And only the portion that is with the crosshatch is being amended. This is the zoning vicinity map. Staff received 38 letters and 2 petitions signed by the 22 residents in opposition to the request for a total of 60. 0 letters within the 300-foot notification area received comment from MCIS, ADOT, and Department of Defense. Staff recommends approval of minor amendment case number 2403 on basis that the proposed change will not have an adverse impact on the nature environment or the scenic quality of the area in contradiction to the plan. Number 2, the proposed change is compatible with the adjoining land use designation directly to the south. Number 3, the proposed project will not require public expenditures for infrastructure improvements. Moving forward with rezoning case number 2410. It's the same parcel. The request is to rezone a parcel 37.5 acres in size from rural area 10 acres minimum, low density residential 6,000 square foot minimum, medium density residential, and local commercial to low density residential 8,000 square foot minimum. Property located in the Foothills planning area, southwest corner of Foothills Boulevard and County 10.5 Street. The intent is to develop residential subdivision with lots of at least 8,000 square foot minimum. This is the zoning map with the 3 different zoning districts. Parcel is outlined in red and highlighted in yellow with the crosshatch. Staff received 38 letters and 2 petitions signed by 22 residents in opposition to the request for a total of 60. 0 letters within 30-foot notification area. MCIS, ADOT, and Department of Defense provided comments. This is the SAPN that was submitted by the applicant. Portion that is outlined in red with the highlight in yellow, it's the parcel. Moving to rezoning 2412. This request is to rezone a parcel 30 gross acres in size from rural area 10 acres minimum to low density residential 8,000 square foot minimum. Property is located in the Foothills plan area, northeast corner of County 10, 3/4 Street alignment and Foothills Boulevard. The intent is to develop residential subdivision with lots of at least 8,000 square feet in size. This is zoning map. The property is highlighted in yellow with the outline in red with the crosshatch. Staff received 33 letters and 2 petitions signed by 22 residents in opposition to the request for a total of 55. 1 letter within the 300-foot radius, and it's with the red X. This is the SAPN that was submitted, and the property is outlined in red and highlighted in yellow. Moving forward to the rezoning case number 2413. The request is to rezone a parcel 40 gross acres in size from rural area 10 acres minimum, low density residential 6,000 square foot minimum, and medium density residential R2 to low density residential 8,000 square foot minimum. Property is located adjacent to Mesa del Sol, number 2, and approximately 0.25 miles north of North Frontage Road. And the intent is to develop residential subdivision with lots of at least 8,000 square foot in size. And this is the zoning map. This is the parcel highlighted in yellow. It's the subject property. And this is the SAPN that was submitted by the applicant. Highlighted in yellow is the portion that is for this parcel. The rezoning. Staff received 41 letters and 2 petitions signed by 22 residents in opposition to the request for a total of 63. 12 letters within the 300-foot notification area. Staff received MCIS and ADOT comments. Moving forward to rezoning case 2414. The request is to rezone a 14.38 acres portion of a parcel 22.28 gross acres in size from rural area 10 acres minimum, low density residential, and medium density to low density residential 8,000 square feet minimum. The property is located in the east of Mesa del Sol number 4 and north of North Frontage Road. And the intent is to develop residential subdivision with lots of at least 8,000 square feet in size. The subject property, it's in the outline in blue. The portion that is being requested to be rezoned, it's highlighted in red, it's highlighted in yellow with the outline in red. This parcel has currently has zoning for low density residential 6,000 square foot minimum. That portion is not being requested to be rezoned, to be kept. The only portion to be rezoned is just the portion to the north, which is in the crosshatch. And it's currently zoned RE10 and R2. And this is the SAPN that was submitted by the applicant, highlighted in yellow, it's the subject property. Staff received 41 letters and 2 petitions signed by 22 residents in opposition to the request for a total of 63. 11 letters within the 300-foot notification area. Received comment from MCIS and ADOT. Staff recommends approval of rezoning cases number 2410, 2412, 2413, and 2414. For all rezoning cases, staff recommends these performance conditions within 60 days of approval by the Board of Supervisors. The owner or agent shall record in navigation and infrastructure and arrange disclosure statement and schedule for development disclosure statements. And for rezoning case 2410, staff recommends attaching the following schedule for development. Within 10 years of Board of Supervisor approval, the filing and approval of a tentative map as a subdivision of parcel 70120-001 into 6 or more lots shall be completed. A traffic impact analysis shall be completed with accordance with the Yuma County Public Works Standards, Volume 4, Section 4.5, during the tentative map review. Number 2, within 10 years of Board of Supervisor approval, all improvements required by the traffic impact analysis shall be completed in the timeframes specified by the traffic impact analysis. For other zoning cases, condition number 1, number 2, they're all the same. The only thing it changed is just the parcel number. And that concludes staff presentation. Any questions for staff? Mr. Chairman, if they have any questions, concerns in regards to water, a representative from Full Use Utilities is present.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. So staff has completed their presentation. Do commissioners have questions of staff at this time? Commissioner Van Wy?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, in reference to these cases here, what we are going to decide is if we want to approve the rezoning of them. Now, there's going to be, obviously, you talked about traffic impact studies, the possibility of infrastructure change, road changes, all that will come later on if things are approved. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. That's going to be a review from the subdivision.
So the minor amendment covers all of these properties?
Only needed to cover a small section of properties, 15
Or just the
acres.
commercial?
The commercial that's going to residential.
Yeah, by my math, that's 756 dwellings that are proposed.
That's, Mr. Chairman, that's the parcel that is being requested to be amended with the crosshatch.
Any other questions from commissioners to staff? If not, is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to speak now?
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Arturo Garcia with Dinovar. Design 670 East 32nd Street, Yuma, Arizona. As you may know, you guys saw this project last year when we did the measure amendment. Not much has changed. We did change from some R16s to mostly R18. As you can see, most of the area already allows this type of densities. It's just a matter of cleaning them up. And the commercial, we're getting rid of the commercial, moving it just a little bit to the east, to the other side of Foothills Boulevard. So it's a pretty straightforward project, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have or that the public may have. So.
Commissioner Van Wy?
Yes. Arturo, you talked about a lot of this is already zoned for this use.
Yes.
You are going to make the properties larger. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Some areas we are.
Other questions of the applicant? Maybe we could clear up a few things, because as I go through and read the objections that we're going to hear about in a few minutes, sewer and water was a big issue. You're designing this, or during this rezoning phase, you haven't been required to assure that there's 100-year water supply yet.
Correct. The subdivision won't be approved, and we won't be able to build anything if there's no capacity,
So
right?
if the zoning passes, and then you do submit a plat for a subdivision, you will have to get assurances from ADWR and the proper people that there is a 100-year water supply, the sewer is large enough to accommodate.
Yes.
Those are in the next phase, though.
Correct. That's in the next phase. We're still really conceptual right now, and it's just for the allowable uses that we're applying for.
And then other issues of concerns about increasing probability of flooding, you'll have to go through the Yuma County Flood Control Department with the design process again to make sure that it doesn't impact other areas.
Correct. In the initial study of this, we flew the property. We got elevations. We're not in the flood zone there. We know the type of soil. We've talked to Foothills Utilities, ADOT, and Yuma County, and everyone involved, trying to see, if this was a feasible project. And we have followed different venues of connecting to different plants, and we're working with Foothills Utilities to connect into what's most, beneficial for them and for the community.
Very good. Does anyone else have questions of the applicant at this time? If not, we're going to hear the public hearing portion of this, and if there's questions that we have afterwards, we could call you back up.
Perfect.
All right.
I'll be here. Thank you.
Did staff feel that it was appropriate to have the Foothills Utilities people speak to put any concerns to rest about water and sewer? Yes, so with commission's indulgence, I'll ask the representative from Foothills Utilities to come forward. And if you can, let us know if you believe you'll be able to supply water and sewer for that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can you please open the public hearing?
I will. I'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting, and our first speaker will be Foothills Utilities.
Gabriel Martinez. I live at 12571 East Patricia Drive in Yuma, in the Foothills. We have invested, just to assure this project, we're for it. We've invested about $26 million to date, this year in our infrastructure. That includes the sewer. That includes getting rid of a lot of lift stations. We're increasing our capacity at the sewer plant. Now we have new equipment that's going in. That's part of being able to process the sewer faster, getting rid of the solids faster. Same thing on the water side. We do have our letter from ADWR for the 100-year availability. That's been given to us already. So we have the capacity on that side. This project is in our CCNN for the water. Same thing with the water side, the infrastructure. We have now backup generators at every one of our pump sites and our water plant. We've also started a project replacing valves, which was limiting, was restricting flow to some of the areas. And I know there's a lot of complaints about the pressure. And one of the things a lot of people don't understand, and I'm not trying to educate anybody, but one of the things people don't understand is infrastructure. And so a lot of our pumps are hand, they operate in hand because we do not have the infrastructure yet for some of these areas. So the pumps, if you want them to ramp up and down to keep pressure steady in some areas, you need fiber optics, you need digital. We have analog right now in some of these areas, and all that allows you to do is to monitor something. But you need an IP address to each piece of equipment for you to make adjustments. And so that's one of the problems, but we're working on it now. And so that's been one of the problems. But we're addressing all these issues. $26 million invested in the infrastructure tells you that we want to provide good utilities. Same thing with the sewer side. We've rehabbed more than 100 manholes that convey the sewer to our plants. And that was a big issue because the company before, they poured manholes and the bottom channels, they did not have bottom channels. It was just a flat bottom. And so we went in there, put in channels. We're rehabbing epoxy. Same thing with the lift stations. We've rehabbed all this. And we support this project. and we have enough capacity. So when we took over the company did a master plan. And what does that mean? That means we hired engineers to tell us what our capacity is and how long do we have until we have to reinvest in getting larger and having more capacity. So on the sewer side, we have about 8 years until we have to grow and make more capacity for our sewer. Same thing with the water. So that's what the engineers did. They did hydraulic tests, they did capacity tests for our infrastructure, and that's where we're at right now. And I know that there's a lot of issues with the order. We have a consent order with ADQ, and we're working on that. And it was something that really did not have to happen because we were already in the works. We hired engineers. We knew that issue was already ongoing when we took over the company. So that's something that we're working on now. There's, an odor consent order because of the odor, but that's getting addressed now. So I don't know if you guys have any more questions.
Very good. We certainly appreciate you coming tonight and putting that to rest. Commissioner Van Wy, a question?
Gilbert, is how far does your area of territory expand towards Yuma? What is your cutoff?
So our CCNN, as far as north, it goes all the way up to the state land,
okay,
which is the north side. And then we go all the way to 10E, okay, which is on the west side. But there is a small section that we have CCNN, which is part of Yuma, the city of Yuma we share, which is Vista del Sol subdivision.
And how long have you been in, has your company taken over this?
We took over October of 2022. And we did not start construction, obviously, because we need to have plans to start that. They need to be reviewed. But it hasn't been that long, so we've done a lot of work in this short time.
Any other questions of this speaker? Thank you and appreciate you coming and sharing with us tonight.
Thank you.
The public hearing portion of this meeting is open. We're going to try to accommodate as many speakers as we can. The 3-minute clock will be running, so if you could keep an eye on that. And as with the 4-H people, if you agree with what the other folks say, you could tell us that. And we want to hear everything that you have that's new to tell us, and we're looking forward to hearing. So if we could get, how many folks want to speak tonight? So not very many. So if you folks could first one come forward, and then the second one kind of get behind him, and that's
Beat you to it.
yeah. You were the quick guy.
Got bad knee too. Good evening, Chairman and Councilman. My name is Theodore Stokes. I live at 10351 South Sunup Avenue. That's in Daybreak. We're here this evening to request that you deny the rezoning case number 24-13 and 14. The proposal for low-density and medium-density housing in an affected area raises several concerns that warrant serious consideration. The area in question is already facing significant water issues. Foothills Utility is grappling with water quality and treatment issues. Just stated that they are in the process of upgrading these facilities. However, they said that their capacity is going to be exceeded in 8 years, which is about the time that this project will come online. So they'll be at capacity by the time this project is finished. An increase in housing density would also exacerbate these problems, potentially leading to overtaxing of our water resources, increases in pressure on our stormwater systems, and threatening our desert ecosystem. Moreover, our local infrastructure cannot support such large influx of residents. The expected increase in traffic, compounded by the influx of our winter visitors, will make driving that is already onerous more so. The additional strain could lead to further degradation of our roads and public services, which already are underfunded and overstretched. The environmental impact of these developments cannot be overlooked. Our community identity is closely tied to our unique desert flora and fauna, and the proposed development puts this at risk. Habitat degradation and fragmentation due to urbanization is a major contributor to the loss of critical habitat for desert species. Furthermore, there is a concern that the introduction of medium-density housing could adversely affect the property values of existing homes. While some studies suggest that these increased housing densities have a positive impact on property values, this is highly dependent on the context and execution of that development. Lastly, the quality of life for current residents is at stake. The introduction of housing development in a scarce water and environmentally sensitive area could lead to a decline in the quality of life for existing residents, limiting recreational opportunities and both affecting the mental and physical health of your constituents. I urge the council to deny the petitioner's request for rezoning. What Hood Hills community is in desperate need of is more green spaces with locations where the community can come together, enjoy the natural wonders of our unique desert oasis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next speaker, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Alan Bosley. I live at 12585 East Del Rico, Yuma 85367. My big concern is when I bought my house, I could see construction possibly happening. So it's one of the things we talked about with the real estate agent, potential of growth in that area. Right now, I live at the very bottom, like the boundary of where the development is going to go in. And most of that, 50% of that area was supposed to be 10-acre minimum sites. So you're basically taking that down to 8,000 square foot lots. That's not much bigger than this room. That's a huge difference for my quality of life. I planned on retiring where I was, and I planned on having my sight lines, my views, everything that was there, and that's gonna be decimated by making suburbs right behind my house. It's not what I envisioned when I moved out to Yuma. That's one of the reasons I moved to Yuma, was to avoid living in suburb America, USA. I'm in construction and I'm for building, but I'm also for smart building. And what I'm seeing right now is a massive project that had little time for the public to review. I have neighbors that are only like 2 blocks away from me that had no notification. You're talking about a, what, $250 to $300 million project, maybe more, and just to have this one meeting and then decide, yes, go ahead and move ahead with the zoning, I don't think that was enough time for the public to make comments. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, my name is Jody Brandt. I live at 12788 East Brenda Drive, and I am away from this project. I am on the south end off of South Frontage, but my main concern is the infrastructure, and it was some of it was talked about. But for me, I have grandchildren in the area, so schools are a big part of this. When this thing gets going and we get houses down in there, what's going to happen to the schools? They're going to be overloaded. The other thing, fire, medical, the hospital, staff, I mean, that's a huge thing right now. We don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough beds for problems. And now we're putting more into this. And who's going to be responsible for building all of that? The zoning commission, their job, your job, obviously, is to take land and shrink it down. In retrospect to what I just said, you're going to take big chunks of land so that we can build houses. And growth is a great thing. Your job is tough because you have to look at specific lands and see, can we do this? Should we do this? So I'm saying no, don't do it. Take a hard look at it before you agree to all of these. There's a lot there. There's a lot of people here. And the people behind you, and if you live out in the foothills, we're going to be paying for a lot of this. Maybe not up front, but in the end, we'll end up paying for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Mike Smithy, 12677 East Daybreak Place, Yuma, Arizona. I want to know why this meeting was held when we still have probably 25 or 30% of our residents not around. And I'm talking about our winter visitors. They have no way to come and comment on this. Another issue I have is infrastructure and what we're going to do as far as traffic control. All of you know around here that when we get our friends in here during the wintertime, this is a difficult place to drive. Now we're talking about adding 300, 400, 500 residents in a 45-acre area. How is that going to be handled traffic-wise, infrastructure-wise, and along with all the other stuff? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have any other speakers tonight? Yes, sir.
My name's Jim Tuttle. I live at 10677 South Del Rio. You know, this and other large rezoning requests affect everybody in the foothills, not just the people within 300 feet or 1,000 feet. I think it's unfair that the county only sends out notices to those people when everybody's affected. I've talked to several people in the last couple of weeks since we got this notice that have no idea that this is even going on tonight, that there's even a rezoning request. That's not fair to anybody in the foothills. In your comprehensive plan that the county approved, one of the points, future residential development should not cause the quality of life of foothills residents to decline. Well, increased traffic, longer lines at the grocery store, longer times to get a doctor appointment, maybe more crime. This is going to affect our quality of life, and not in a good way. Residential development should not outpace the development of infrastructure to support it. A bunch of people know over that. We've been on that. You know, but one thing that was not brought up is our police protection out there is already below the national standard for officers per, the ratio of officers per residence. I mean, that's just another thing. I think water is the biggest issue out there. We've had them talk everything. This is something that I don't think maybe a lot of people realize. Yuma County says, and they quote in the plan, all Yuma County residents should have access to high quality and reliably accessible drinking water. Okay, at my house, we check our TDS, total dissolved solids. Quite a bit. EPA recommends 500 parts per million or less. Mine's never been under 500. When we get switched to well water, I get readings 1,200 to 1,400 parts per million. The EPA says this is not fit for human consumption. So the water company says, yeah, we're all good and we can supply water, this and that. How about the quality of that water? I don't know how the state can say we're going to guarantee you 100 years of water. With the ongoing drought, pressure on everybody wants that water. I don't know how they can even do that. This property, unlike some of the properties out there that were just zoned R10 and they want them a higher density, this one is already R10 and R2. This already provides room for development and open space. There's 40 homes that back up directly to the R10 areas of this property that have been enjoying some open space. You know what I'm saying. I'm done.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir. Appreciate it. Additional speaker?
My name's Allison Quick. I am speaking on behalf of the property of 10636 South Del Vista. I also personally live at 8321 East Lorenzo Lane. I am affected twice, twofold on this. I have a rental home right on the corner of Del Vista and Calais Ventana that would be directly affected by the increase in traffic. 756 homes, 1,500 cars, more with their their children, coming down this road, cutting across, coming out to Fortuna, which was recently just added that extra light for those going to YPG. Do we know when a new school will be added out in the foothills? No. So these children are going to be going to the 9E schools, which we already know the traffic there. That's where I will personally be affected because I live right there. I also get stopped by the traffic. I get stopped by the railroad tracks. Tim Dunn's already on that railroad track problem. But it's not going to get any better. It's going to probably be 3 times worse eventually without a plan of a new school. We already know we need schools out there. And that 6E school alleviated a lot, but not out to this area, the northeast. So that is my point. Also the water rates. I also own land and RV spaces in Vista del Sol. When my winter visitors are gone, I still have to pay $56 to the Foothills Utilities. That's going to go up to repay that $26 million. Eventually, I'm going to have to be paying 3 different ways. And this is why, and my other points, why I'm against this new development. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional speakers?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Aaron Selye. My APN number is 728-07001. I think for everything that I've seen come out to East County, this has been the most responsible project we've had available to us. It's taken smaller size lots and made them larger. It's a reasonably improved space, and the area that they've improved along Interstate 8 and the frontage road will definitely help relieve some of the traffic congestion that we've had in the past. I think working with the developer and having the owner as well as staff come out to the meetings out in the county have proven very, very helpful. I recommend you approve this because Yuma County needs to grow, and this is a responsible way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Additional speakers?
Hello, Tina Sibley, 10517 South Del Vista Drive. This is why I came out here tonight. They've said so many amazing things. I'm not a great speaker, but I care about it, so I'm going to share my opinion as well. From what I understand, this is going to, I'm against it. It's going to affect all of our resources. Don't know if you guys have ever gone to Fry's in the foothills in the winter months, but if we add all of this housing, I'm not looking forward to that. So I do think that we need to have doctors, grocery stores, everything in place prior to bringing in all these additional residents. The water, he was sounding promising until he said there was, I think, was it 8 years? It was not gonna, I don't remember the exact words.
Be a capacity.
Thank you, the capacity. That's not a long time. So that's a little concerning. The schools, there's a lot of things that I think are gonna be negatively affected. We already have a lot of car accidents out there, especially in the winter months. I think the traffic's gonna get really bad, and a lot of us moved out here for that slower pace and to get away from the traffic and the hustle bustle. We don't want to turn the foothills into that. If we did, we would have moved where it was busier, maybe more down this way, I don't know. But anyways, I like the way it is. I also really hate to see my view. That's not the priority, but I did buy it with that view, and to just imagine seeing tons of houses out my back, that's pretty sad. So there's a lot of us that feel that way. Also, my parents live just down the street in Mesa del Sol. I also have a rental property in Mesa del Sol, and those houses were not notified. My parents had no idea what was going on. I know somebody spoke on that earlier, but there has not been enough time, enough notice, and this was done when we do have a lot of people out of town, either on vacation or our winter homeowners. So this is not fair to not properly notify them and give them time to give their response. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone with anything new? Any other speaker?
Yeah,
One more speak? Well, hold on a second. You've already spoken, right, sir?
Can I make one more point?
Then we'd have to let everyone else make one more point. Sorry about that. We got a speaker that's going to make that point for you. Make his point for him.
My name's Dave Wyman. Excuse me. I live at 10488 South Del Vista Drive. I've heard a lot of what's been said tonight, Mr. Chairman. I understand that this investor bought this property and it's trying to capitalize on that investment, but it wasn't zoned like we're asking for it to be changed to. I did my due diligence when I bought my property. I knew what was gonna be behind there. I knew what it was zoned for. Man, it could be a golf course, or it could just stay desert or whatever. And all of a sudden, like so many other people, I'm gonna lose my view. I have a couple of, personally, on the commercial property thing, I would love to see commercial goods out there on the end of Foothills, and those opportunities are going away. Whether it's gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, whatever. I know that across the street, they're talking about a truck stop or something, but commercial property is important, and it's important for the integrity of the neighborhood. I'm concerned about access. I'm concerned about the power line that goes off South Del Vista Drive. As a neighborhood, we've discussed this many times, and we've actually had people out there. We've had the opportunity to shut that down, and we've just tried to control it instead. I agree with so many people about about Foothills Utilities. Some things are better, but not many, and some things are far worse. And I also believe that it was pretty slimy to sneak this thing through in the part of the year when you can use the minimum time available and nobody's paying attention. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Richard Carlson, 1349334 East 42nd Drive. First, I'm going to say, you guys got to do something with the sound system in here because I couldn't hear hardly anything that went on tonight.
That's too bad,
All right?
sorry.
I got hearing aids, and I'm old, but you got to work on that. I don't see anything on there for parks. I don't see anything for fire stations. I don't see anything for schools. You guys got this on your plate. You got to cross interstate along the frontage road beyond the Moose Club and all. You got that on your plate. You got down where the Howling at the Moon was going on. They're going to build down there. At the south end of Foothills Drive, they're building all over the mountain back there. You need schools, you need fire support, and you need infrastructure on that bridge across Interstate 8. Because right now it's crowded. You let all this crap go on, we'll never get out of here. Thank you.
Thank you. So all the speakers have spoken. We'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting. The representative from the water company wanted to say one more thing.
Address something that I said that was misrepresented.
Since it affects everyone in here, I'm going to let you say have the last word, okay?
You gotta expand on the 8-year thing, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, so when I said that the capacity is for 8 years, that means the existing. And obviously, we're not gonna wait 8 years to expand our capacity. We're working on that now, on the water and on the sewer. And then to the lady that said about the rates, the existing rate right now is for 1,000 gallons of water, it's $1.64. And there's no, if you go over 3,000, 5,000, it's still $1.64 for every 1,000 gallons. And
no commercials though. We can't let you do a commercial.
and so and the base rate is only $14, and the proposed, that doesn't mean that's what it's going to be, is only $15.75. So that's, you know, $1 something more. And the new proposed rate is still going to be 1,000 for 1,000 gallons, $1.64. But if you go over 3,000 gallons, it's going to be $1.85.
Thank you for the clarification. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Hold on.
Mr.
We can't have people talking. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
The speakers can't address each other.
Yeah, that's, the speaker has to address the chairman and can't address anyone else. So the public hearing portion of the meeting is now closed, and we will come back to commissioners for discussion and action.
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman, I
Black.
do have some comments on this. I've been in development for over 25 years in Yuma County, and and I understand it's scary when you see a big project like this come in with all types of different densities and different, it's a very complicated, very ambitious subdivision. But again, you know, with growth, and this is the way I always had to look at it, with growth, you then have dollars. This one should be paying dollars to pay for infrastructure and stuff that they're going to be using. So in a way, if you look at it like that, you know, whatever the county decides for them that they need to do, their impact on this with this subdivision, it will be the developer's issue, the developer's problem. Now, this is the very first stage of this. So, you know, there's a lot of time when they get into doing plats and all this, that there would be more concerning discussion, I think, and to watch it. But, you know, in my opinion, the growth with residential buildings demands that there become commercial and everything else. But those are my comments. I'll let everybody else talk, but I just wanted to say how I feel about that. And it's certainly, I do understand it because it is it's very complex looking subdivision.
Commissioner Van Wy.
Yes, sir. A few comments as well. Put yourself in the situation where you currently live now, and how do you think people like us felt when you came in? It's no different. You know, the habitats, you talked about the habitats. Where you live in Daybreak, that was desert before. It's no different. Infrastructure out there, honestly, is horrible. Gonna agree with you 1,000% on that. But that's why the county will take into consideration and require the builder to do certain things to make that to where the infrastructure is better. Now, we talk about schools, residential, commercial, all that. I agree. However, this is personally owned property. The guy doesn't want to build a school on his own property. Understand that. So, although I do agree with a lot of what you all said, you got to remember, this is America, and we have the right to do what we want to do with our property. There's certain things we cannot change. So understand that.
That's this whole process, right? This is the American process.
All right, sir. We can't have the audience talking from their seats, so just try to hold it down, let everybody have their say. Commissioners.
Mr. Acting Chairman,
Yes.
one item to note is this discussion at this point is between the commission.
Exactly.
And so commissioners, it would be helpful if you speak to the commissioners and rather than the audience.
We will try not to antagonize the audience anymore. Any other commissioners? Discussion? Action?
Would you accept a motion?
I will listen to one.
I move that we approve minor amendment case 2403.
One motion at a time. We need to do a motion for each case. So
Oh,
you-
okay.
You're move it as presented?
Yes.
So there is a motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
There's a second by Ron. There's a motion by Commissioner Bowers with a second by Commissioner Van Wy to recommend approval of minor amendment case 24-03. Any discussion amongst commissioners? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minor amendment case passes. Next up's rezoning case number 24-05. Is there a motion?
Would you accept a motion?
C.
I accept we approve 24-10 as presented.
5? You mean 05?
No, Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Chairman, it's number 10.
Number 10? Okay. My
24
apologies.
Okay.
I second that.
Okay, rezoning case number 24-10 has a motion for approval by Commissioner Bowers with a second by Commissioner Van Wy. Any discussion from commissioners? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, is that with the conditions and schedule for development as recommended by staff?
As recommended by staff, there was no changes requested by the applicant. So that one unanimously passes as well. Item number 8, rezoning case number 24-12.
I propose that we accept rezoning case number 24-12 as presented.
Second.
There is a motion by Commissioner Bowers with a second by Commissioner Van Wyk to recommend approval of rezoning case 24-12 as presented by staff. Any discussion amongst the commission? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 8, rezoning case number 24-12 is approved, recommended approved unanimously. Rezoning case number 24-13.
I propose that we approve rezoning case number 24-13 as presented.
Second.
There is a motion by Commissioner Bowers with a second by Commissioner Van Wyk to recommend approval of rezoning case number 24-13 as presented by staff. Any discussion among the commissioners? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Rezoning case number 24-14.
I propose that we approve rezoning case number 24-14 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bowers with a second by Commissioner Van Wyk to recommend approval of rezoning case 24-14 as presented by staff. Any discussion among commissioners? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Next item on tonight's agenda, item number 11, rezoning case number 24-15. Arturo Garcia from Innovar LLC, agent for East Mesa of Yuma, Arizona, requests the rezoning of 16.91 acres of a parcel, 29.56 acres in size from rural area 10 acres to general commercial, and a 12.11 net acre portion to high-density residential R3. Staff's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Javier Barraza, senior planner, presenting rezoning case 24-15. This project site is located in the Foothills planning area, northeast corner of North Frontage Road and Foothills Boulevard in Yuma, Arizona. The intent is to develop a mixture of residential and general commercial uses. This is the zoning and vicinity map showing the subject parcel outlined in red. Property is accessed along the west via Foothills Boulevard and North Frontage Road. The property is in desert terrain. Highlighted in green is the portion to be the 12.11 acre portion to be rezoned to high density residential, and the remainder is 16.19 to go to general commercial. Properties on the north are zone RA10 in desert terrain. Properties on the northwest are parcel number 1, zone medium density residential, rural area 10 acre minimum, and local commercial in desert terrain. And then parcel on the south east is a vacant parcel, zone RA10. Parcels on the east are within the subdivision of Fortuna Golf Course, zone R140, improved with site-built homes, and Sundance RV Park, zone RVP. And also to the west is the Premier Storage Condos. This is an aerial view showing the subject property outlined in blue. This is a 2022 aerial. This is the site plan provided by the applicant. This is just a conceptual design showing how the development could be. This is a view looking northeast of the subject property from the southwest corner. Now looking east and also to the North Frontage Road. This is a view looking southeast of the property from the northwest corner. Staff received 39 letters and 2 signed petitions by 22 residents in opposition to this request for a total of 61 letters. 5 letters from within the notification area. Marked on the map to the left are with an X. These are within the 300-foot radius. Staff recommends approval of rezoning case number 20-15, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of approval by the board, the owner shall record a navigation disclosure statement, an infrastructure disclosure statement, a range disclosure statement, as well as a schedule for development disclosure statement. And also the following is scheduled for development. Number 1, within 10 years of board approval, the filing and approval of a tentative map as a subdivision of parcel 701-29005 into 6 or more lots shall be completed. Also, a traffic impact analysis shall be completed in accordance with Yuma County Public Works Standards, Volume 4, Section 4.5 during tentative map review. And number two, within 10 years of board approval, all improvements required by the TIA shall be completed in the timeframe specified by the TIA. Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, staff. Do any commissioners have questions of staff at this point?
I just got a question, because what you have is C2 going through high-density residential. And I didn't see anything about, and maybe that comes later, but it seems weird that we're rezoning this, and there's no buffer between that. I mean, that's a comment, maybe a question to staff.
Designer?
Mr. Chairman, a time of, let's say, only buffer and screening is required when you're establishing a commercial use, and there will be one established between residential and commercial uses, a time of development. So there will be a buffer.
Okay, I didn't see
requirement.
it in schedule for development. That's
No,
why
that's
I
a-
asked the question.
Mr. Chairman, that's when they apply for permits. They need to comply with zoning requirements, and the buffering and screening is,
To me, Mr. Chairman, it just seems weird that we're rezoning it. And now they've got the zoning, but I got it. I understand where we're going.
Yeah, it's the chicken and the egg theory.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's somewhat, yes.
So is there any other commissioner or questions of staff? Does the applicant want to speak at this time? Yes, come forward, please.
Say everything again?
Yes, name and address for the record.
Arturo Garcia with Dinner for Design, 670 East 32nd Street, Yuma, Arizona. Yes, so we got this approved last year. So, I mean, most residents, winter visitors, as well as summer, year-long residents got to see this all of last year. We got it approved, and the idea here, like we said, is really conceptual. We're just moving the commercial from the other parcel that we just approved a few minutes ago into this parcel. We think it's more adequate for access. We've been talking to ADOT. They thought it was more adequate than having to shift everything to Foothills Boulevard. And the high-density residential, we're thinking townhomes, condos or apartments. We're still not decided, but we're just trying to explore those options when we start to develop. So again, I'm here for any questions you may have.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Van Wy.
When you talk about condos and apartments, are you talking single level or are you talking 2 stories?
We haven't decided yet. There's a limit based on the area. If we do townhomes, probably 1 story. And again, it would just really depend on the layout that we decide to follow. I know that there's a height limitation on that zoning, and staff can talk about it.
Probably, Mr. Chairman, one of the biggest factors is always parking. You know,
Yes.
your parking you have so much parking that you have to go 2-story. You can't go 2-story because you don't have enough parking.
Yes.
Anyway.
And again, usually the norm is 1 story is cheaper than 2 stories. But again, if, like you mentioned, if we cannot meet parking, then we'll explore those different options based on the density that gets decided.
The design at this point is completely conceptual. This is.
Yes, it's completely conceptual. We just threw something out there so that people can take a look of
Idea of what could look like.
Yeah.
Any other questions of the applicant? You're good with all of the recommendations that the county has attached? Very good. If you have questions, we'll call you back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll open the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting for this rezoning case number 24-15. Anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak concerning this item? There's one all the way in the back. Come forward. Name and address for the record. If there's a second speaker, if you could get behind so that you'll be ready when this gentleman is finished.
Good afternoon. Robert Green, 10711 South El Camino del Diablo. My concern with this rezoning here is essentially the vagueness of the R3 and the high density that they plan to put into there. I've scrimped and scraped my whole life to purchase a whole house on El Camino del Diablo, which is currently zoned R140. I actually have no problem with the R18s that went in south of there. I think, growth is inevitable. Let's bring people to the community. I'm from here. I am concerned about the high-density residential and how it affects my street and just, you know, what that ends up looking like in 8-10 years down the road. My wife and I bought what we call our forever home, and with an potential townhomes, not really sure. Going in there, I'm concerned about what the largest investment that I've ever made with my money, what that looks like 10 years from now, 30 years from now, with what goes in there. So I appreciate your guys' consideration, and I hope that we can we can see each other's points on this one. I just have some concerns about the high density level of the apartment. The commercial side of it, I think, is beautiful. I look forward to seeing the commercial brought to the area. I just, again, high density residential is a concern of mine.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else tonight wanting to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and come back to the commissioners and for additional questions. And perhaps a question of the applicant, is that R3 zoning that this gentleman was concerned with, is that something you're stuck on? I mean, you don't even know what you're going to do with it at this point? Do we need the zoning at this time?
Putting your life in your hands out there.
Yes, so the idea, of course, is to have the most options available. And then that would be R3. Our intent, if we get to develop the whole project ourselves, is to do townhomes, which are a lot lower density than apartments. But again, we want to be able to have that option there. So I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
this is
Van
to staff, actually. Personally, I don't believe that fits the infrastructure currently. I don't know how we can go to townhomes and apartments in that area when they don't exist in that area as it is. I'm not for this part.
That is the reason that they're trying to rezone to R3 so that,
to fill a need.
well, to provide the opportunity for townhomes or condos in that area. The property is in compliance, or the zoning is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. So if the commission wishes to have a different type of zoning, the case would have to be postponed and re-advertised.
Need to have a reason why we're doing it. Well, I mean, the interesting part of this is all of these rezoning cases, the ones earlier, the 5 earlier, they scored 300 out of 300 when we do our analysis that the county uses. This one scores 295 out of 300. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, and this is conceptual also,
I understand,
Mr.
but
Chairman. So, yeah, I understand that.
We're leaving it open.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, and we're still limited, even though it's open, we're still limited to the densities,
and to the height.
And to the height
restrictions.
restrictions. And again, ideally, everyone could afford a 5-acre lot with a 3,000 square feet home, but many people don't,
It's going to take more than $25,000 each, right?
Yes. So, I mean, there are different sectors of our public that require different types of housing. And here we're trying to do a responsible project where we can meet different needs. You know, younger generations that are coming in that they don't want a big house, they don't want, it's something suitable for
for
them.
the gentleman that bought his forever house, and now he's going to wonder what you're going to build there one of these years. But it is your land, and it is
And with the commercial right next door, like he mentioned, he's really excited about it. I mean, you never know. Property values may go up. He may find a different forever home.
pleasure of the commission. Who would like to move this?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, recommendation of, recommend approval for this rezoning case number 24-15. I think as presented. I think it was.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Black with a second by Commissioner Bowers to recommend approval of rezoning case 24-15 as presented by staff. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
We have one nay vote. The remaining votes are aye. The recommendation is to approve rezoning, recommend approval of rezoning case 24-15. Next item on today's agenda, request to initiate a text amendment to the zoning, to the zoning ordinance, section 902, parking requirements, to adopt the City of Yuma's parking requirements for certain categories of uses. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jesus Carrillo, Senior Planner.
Yes, sir. You are a senior planner, where you know.
Yeah, we got that down.
We agree.
Agree to everything. Would you like a presentation, Mr. Chairman? Would you like a presentation?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know that we really need a presentation. This is coming back to us. We seen it, we sent it up to the supervisors to get their comments. Did they left it as is, or did?
Yeah.
And no changes were recommended by the board supervisors.
This is the one that staff worked on so diligently to make it match up with the city. I mean, staff deserves an award
I
for
agree.
this kind of policy.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we initiate the requested change or recommended changes from staff.
I'll second
We
that.
have a motion by Commissioner Van Wy with a second by Commissioner Black to initiate a text amendment to the zoning ordinance as presented in item number 12.
Chairman, can you open the public hearing for this?
Oh, do we need to? Oh.
My apologies.
Really?
I still move it though.
Just in case anyone wants to know the result of this public hearing. Yes, we'll open a public hearing and ask if there's anyone here that would like to comment concerning this item number 12, the text amendment to section 902. How long you want me to keep it open, May?
Close it.
Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting, come back. There's a motion and a second on the table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Request is initiated. Item number 14 on tonight's agenda is discussion by the commission members and planning director of any events or current events that have been attended or scheduled for planning commission issues. Anyone have anything? No one has anything? Call to the public is the last item on tonight's agenda. Anyone want to come forward and spend 3 minutes enlightening us? Come forward, name and address for the record, no matter how many times you've spoken.
Just twice today. Mr. Chairman, Aaron Selye, 728-07001. Two quick items. Request that you guys look into removing the special permit for 4-H and 3F communities, because I would like to see the impact on the county's budget if we remove that from kids needing to pay that to be able to get into such a program. It's a great idea, great program. And second, request that the board or the commission also put out information when the new terms for the subdivision are up. So it's hard to explain, but like there's the old RVS is sitting on several lots in the foothills, many of them, high acre lots. And we've changed that now to RVS 5 is what the locals are calling it, 5 RVS lots per acre, which doesn't match the maximum 18 capacity that used to exist on the old RVS. Some of those parcels have been sitting on RVS for more than 15 years with no parcel subdivision map and no information about how they plan on moving forward. I found that by doing some parcel searches and communicating with staff Javier specifically about that those are typically automatically renewed. I asked that that not automatically happen and that when those new renewals come up, that the local residents, stakeholders in that area have a chance to voice their opposition to old RVS being included on parcels that were previously adopted, if that makes sense.
I understand what you're asking and we can explore with staff.
Yes.
But I don't know what can be done, but we can explore with staff, so.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Any other speakers call to the public? Tony's smiling, look at that. Seeing none, we'll close the call to the public and adjourn our meeting and thank everybody for your time, your patience, and for coming, especially staff. Thank you.
Can I get an Uber home?